Hello, and welcome to our 15th newsletter. Yay! So we're here in the backyard of the home that I grew up in. And in fact, Heather and I were married basically on this very spot. So this is where we said, I do, and we filled the backyard with people that we knew and loved, and it was still my favorite wedding I've ever been to. So anyways, we thought we'd go and kick off this newsletter with a funding update, our progress to the field.
We are currently at 98%, y'all.
Wow!
So it's really awesome.
Yes.
We're so grateful. We talked to you about the $10 challenge in our last newsletter, and some of our supporters increased their giving. We also had some people join us at $10, and we want to say thank you so much.
Yes.
We're still in our final push, so if you have it on your heart that you want to give, you could join us in this $10 challenge.
That's right.
We'd like to reach 100% by February when we plan to go to pre-field training.
That's right. And so it is December now, which means the end of the year is approaching. And so as we come to the end of the support raising journey, we wanted to extend an end of year giving ask. And so we ask this because MTW is a 501c3 religious charity. And so any donations you make towards our support account comes to MTW and of course is tax deductible. And our monthly budget, we are, of course, as Heather May said, we have 98% of our monthly needs covered, which is the most important part. But we also have a one-time budget that covers things like flights and trainings and language school. And even recently, we've been able to use that money to buy things that we need for the field, like luggage to get there, or like clothes, because it's going to be harder to find shoes that fit us there, or even...
At least fits him.
That's
there.
right, yeah. Or even technology that we use to study Japanese. And
even doing these video newsletters.
Yeah, that's right. And so anyways, your one-time donations go to all of those things, and we want to ask you to consider to help us get to the end of our one-time needs. We are $9,800 away. Excuse me, that was dyslexia right there. $8,900 away from the end of our one-time needs. And so if you would like to give towards that, we would be eternally grateful, truly.
Yes, and so we also want to say thank you to the people who joined us for Giving Tuesday. It was really awesome, and we did see some support come in that day, and we're really grateful. So thank you so much.
Yay, Giving Tuesday.
Yeah, and so moving on to a different thing, every year we want to give a gift to our supporters. Last year we did magnets, and this year we thought we'd like to do that again because the number of our supporters has more than doubled.
Praise
so
God.
we wanted to put that out there for you guys as well, if you wanted to get one.
Yeah, and for those of you who have been part of our team since before last December, thank you. And we are totally willing to give you another one if you want one, but by default, we don't want to come in and perform a hostile takeover of the precious real estate of the front of your refrigerator. And so we will not send you a second magnet unless you ask for one. So please let us know. We have no problem adding you to our order, because there will be a different picture on it. So
and it might be stronger too.
yes, we're gonna see.
Try to get a stronger magnet.
Yeah, the other one's good too, but stronger is always better. Hold up all those papers and such.
Yeah.
So anyways, so keep your eyes out for that coming in February. We're deciding we want to send it out as we go out. And so we'll be sending that out in February. And also, if you're a monthly partner, we took a little something back with us from Japan on this last vision trip that we're also going to include to you as well. So look forward to that.
Yes. And so many of our supporters here in New Mexico have, many people in New Mexico have joined our support team, and we wanted to be able to throw a party for you all. Whether you have joined us in supporting us financially or with prayer or both, which we hope you're all praying for us, but we want to have a party and thanks to you. We did something similar in Houston back in April, and we wanted to let you know that we'll reach out to you personally with the details of that. We also are hoping to have one in Alabama. We will be there hopefully in February after pre-field training before we head to Japan. And we will send out details about that too. So please look forward to that because we would really love to celebrate and say thank you to you and thank you for the work that God has been doing in your hearts and lives that's affecting our lives and will affect many more people because of the generosity that God has poured out through you.
Yeah, yeah. And so as we get ready for the field, we did something that we also did last time we had our big move when we moved from Houston to Santa Fe. We made a big calendar to put on the wall. This time, Heather made the calendar, and it's way bigger than the last one. I don't know if she's trying to outdo me or something, but maybe. But we have a big calendar on the wall, and that's really been a visual reminder for us to see that we have limited time left here in the States before finally making it to the field.
Yeah. So that visual reminder has really given us some oomph in getting us to downsize and packing and getting some of our paperwork done, such as visas and the final checklist of all the things that we need to do. And we were actually up really late just last night working on our visa paperwork. And the last thing that we needed for it was Jack Anna's birth certificate, which was a long story of why we don't have it. And I asked my small group to pray with me on Monday. I've been trying to get her birth certificate since July. And I was like, we really need this birth certificate by the end of the week. And we spent some time in prayer, and I got an update yesterday that it'll be here by Friday. So it was pretty awesome to have that just final link in the chain come in so that we can continue the process for our visas.
Yeah, so we're really excited about all that, getting ready to go to Japan. And speaking of Japan, we went on a vision trip to Japan back in September.
Yep.
And so this is the end of our newsletter, and we'll tell you about it in the next one. Just kidding. We're finally going to tell you guys about it. I know we put some pictures on social media, but it's not the same as getting a fuller story of it. And so we're excited to share with you guys about what an awesome, helpful trip it was.
Yes. As we mentioned, part of this trip was helping our friends Steven and Crystal move to Japan, to the same area that we will be in. We got to be with them on the plane with their two littles, and we got to help them move from one plane to the other plane because you have to get all your luggage and do that. And all in all, it was over 24 hours of travel from all the layovers and just the flight itself, the separate flights. And it was exhausting. However, it was way more exhausting for them since they, are the parents of those kids. And it'll be our turn next time.
That's right.
But we were really thankful. We also got to be hosted by Robert and Lisa, who are the admins of the school where Alex will be teaching.
Yeah.
And it was a really good flight, good trip. Exhausting though.
Yeah, and Robert and Lisa were great hosts, and we were really glad to stay with them. And the very next morning, we got there very late at night. Well, it seemed late to us, but we went straight to sleep. We were like falling asleep on the car ride back from the airport to the area where we'll be serving. And but anyways, one of the first things we did when we woke up the next morning is we wanted to go and see Nagoya Christian School, the school where I'll be able to teach. And that was so cool. We took a beautiful walk, and the first time walking around in Japan, and that was really incredible. And we even saw some spiders that Heather likes and some flowers, and the same spiders we see in Houston. And
the same kind, yeah.
Yeah.
I love orb weavers, are my favorite. And they were everywhere. It was awesome.
It was awesome. And so when we went to NCS, it was really cool to see teachers in person that we had met over video. It was really cool to meet the students, and not all the students were there because some were sick and some were out of town, but we're looking forward to meeting the rest of them in the new year. But it was just a great chance for us to see the school with our own eyes. And we went several other times through the week, but that first impression is always the strongest.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we explored a lot of other places around the area too, and we got to learn how to use the bus and the train, which was very unfamiliar at first.
And actually, right outside of NCS, right next to it is actually a train right there. And so you can actually see it out of the window at NCS. And so as we were riding in the train, we actually got to look out the window and was like, oh, there it is. And so that was really cool.
It was really neat, and we were grateful to have an opportunity to explore the train and bus system before we bring our 4 kids with us to explore it. So we got a bit of a feel for it. By no means are we used to it, but at least we've done it a couple times, so we can begin to get used to it.
Yeah.
And it really helped us appreciate too how close everything was, how walkable a lot of it was too. I didn't know that your shin bones can get sore from walking, but mine sure did, and it was weird.
That's right. And so it was cool even when walking around it, like there were signs, of course, and believe it or not, everything was written in Japanese. And for some reason, part of that shocked me. I was like, wait a minute, this language, I've been studying this entire time. There's an entire people group that uses this language?
For real?
For real? Like, just like, it's you see it enough in just books and movies and stuff. You don't realize that it's real life for an entire population of people. Ridiculous. But it was amazing, though, to see all these signs and be like, oh my gosh, I can read that one. Oh my gosh, I can read that one. Oh, there's 97 others that I can't read, okay? But, like, it just felt really good to have that payoff of having studied the language, or, like, even coming up to the door and you see that they only have the kanji for push or pull. So I didn't have to feel like a fool and trying to push on the pull and pull on the push. Or even, like, hot and cold water. I could see the kanji written for that. And, so, or even like in the parking garage, open or closed, things like that. Or, but even beyond being able to read some of the signs, it was also cool to be able to just use the language to speak to people in restaurants that were serving us, or even speak to someone in the airport being like, wait a minute, where do we put our bag? And being able to ask that question in Japanese, hear the answer in Japanese, and be like, oh, this is where we put it. And so it was just very rewarding, the time that we had put in. And it just felt like, oh, wow, like that really helped. But it also showed us we also have a long way to go. And so over these last few months, that's really been a spur for us to continue our language study, and so that we can be able to use it when we move there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also got to visit 2 of the church plants that MTW has in Nagoya. One of them was solely in Japanese. One of them was a mix of Japanese and English. They were both awesome experiences. We were really grateful to meet and fellowship with the people who attend these churches. And some of them are team members. Some of them are missionaries on other teams with MTW in Nagoya. And
some of them are native Japanese who live in the area.
Yes. Yeah. And so it was really awesome to be in that environment, to see those churches. One of them's in the morning, one of them was in the afternoon. So we were glad we got to go to 2 of them, even though we only spent one Sunday there.
And it was cool because we were first timers. They asked us to stand up and introduce ourselves, and I was able to do so in Japanese, and that felt really good to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so another thing we got to do, apart from going to church, is just go out and meet our teammates. And that's what had us moving all around and doing the train systems and walking a ton. And it was just so good to meet these people, and some of which we actually knew from our cohort, Matt and Emma. And we missed Mark and Esther because they moved there right after we had to leave back to the States. But we're looking forward to seeing them when we move there. But there were plenty of other people as well, including our the admin of the school, Robert and Lisa, as well as our one-ups, and just really kind of understand the context of the situation better and see what challenges exist. And it kind of just it helped us to see that we can't do this without Jesus. All we can do is be obedient. All we can do is show up and do the best that we can do by His grace, and just lean on Him for the rest of it. And so that's what we'll need to do through all of those challenges. But we're excited to meet those challenges, and we were excited to be able to get a better idea of everything, seeing everything with our eyes, but also hearing stories with our ears. And so we're also looking forward to being able to bring our kids and show our kids everything that we got to see as well. And while we were there, we also had some good times with Stephen and Crystal, although they were very busy doing a lot of Japanese paperwork to get established there, which we're excited that they got to do it before we did, because they're going to give us a lot of advice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another thing that was really awesome to do was we met up with a friend there who is from Santa Fe, and he was going to a school there, a mission school in Kyoto, but he met us in Nagoya because he'd been there before, and he invited us to go with him to the tallest building in Nagoya, which is 47
47
stories
stories
tall.
Midland Square.
Midland Square. It was huge. It was probably one of my favorite things that we got to do because we went to the very top, and it was nighttime, and it was like almost a full moon, and the city lights just go on as far as your eye can see, and it was just a beautiful. It was a beautiful sight, but also very sobering, very humbling how many people are there. And it was just a great experience. We were really glad to see our friend. We were glad to experience that with him as well. And just the feeling of all those people.
Yeah, and just see, like, this is the mission field that we're going to. Like, these are the people that we will be going to serve. And it's like you would see like a portion of it and be like, oh yeah, that's about the size of Albuquerque or maybe even Houston. And then you'd look and that same amount of city was copy and pasted here and there and there, like 360 degrees. It's like millions and millions of people live in this city. And so it was humbling, like Heather said, and amazing to see it all for ourselves. And even just like while being there, like in the buses or the trains, and just sitting and kind of being a fly on the wall and just seeing, wow, these are the people who live here, and this is how they're living, and just praying for them and just thinking about, wow, this is exciting.
Jesus knows these people.
Yeah.
And Jesus sees them, and he is present and working. It's incredible. Even though there's less than 1% that know Jesus, like Jesus knows them. And in a way, that's also really exciting to know that this is work he's doing. He's already there. He's already doing it. He is active all the time.
And we want them to know him, and we want him to know them better too. So that's what we get to help with. Yeah. And so at the end of our trip, we flew out.
And I couldn't quite see out the window because Alex was sleeping, so I just put my phone up to the window and I snapped a shot because I could kind of see like Tokyo, because we flew from Nagoya to Tokyo to the States to Houston, actually, but we weren't there long. But
it was a very short layover in Houston. We were like, hi, Houston people. Bye, Houston people.
And so when I brought my phone back and I looked at it, I was like, is that Mount Fuji? And then I was like, oh, let's wake up, because we promised each other we'd wake each other up if we saw Mount Fuji. And he woke up and we looked out, and sure enough, it was Mount Fuji. So we were so excited. We got to say, Fuji-san! And yeah, it was really beautiful. And Tokyo is massive. That was a city that seemed never ending, but we were really glad to see that
just
sight
from the air. Yeah. And so at the end of our vision trip, I've just had many weeks to think about it and reflect on it, and I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful for the advice that we received to go on this. I feel like it was one of the wisest things we've ever done. Just to be able to, I mean, we had never seen the city before, so it was almost like, gee, I hope we like it as we plan to move there. But having been there and just like digesting everything that we saw and all the experiences we've had, I'm so thankful for those experiences, because it gives us so much understanding before we move there on how to pack, and even just wrapping our minds around it enough to be able to think about guiding our kids through all of it. And so it was a real advantage for us to be able to have gone there, meet our teammates, see the area, and just experience it before moving there. Yeah. And so that brings us to our prayer requests.
Yes, our prayer requests. We would like to ask for prayer, especially for our visas right now, that they would go through quickly. There wouldn't be any more hiccups like the birth certificate. And then also for our family, just we know that this time before us is going to be very busy, and there's so much that we need to do and get done, and we don't want it to be a time where we kind of run over our kids in order to get all this done. That we'd still be unified, that we'd be more unified, that our children would see that they are valued even in the midst of all the stuff that needs to be done to get us to Japan. Yeah. And specifically also pray for me is that, last week in particular, I just felt a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, I guess you could say, over all the things that need to be done before we move there. And particularly just feeling like there's not enough time to get all this done. And the long and short of it is that I make a checklist and I hold myself to higher standards than
God holds me to, I guess, that I'm harder on myself than even God is, and to just take a sit back and rest in Him, rest in His goodness, rest in His sovereignty, rest in His grace. And when I do that, I just see that, wait a minute, God is not the God of lack. He's the God of abundance. And He has abundance in terms of meeting our physical needs, but also He has an abundance of time. And so even when I feel like there's not enough time to do things, I know that I've seen Him in the past come through and provide for us in ways that I didn't expect. I'm like, oh, now we have time to do all these things that needed to get done. And look at that, they got done. And it's okay. And there was no reason to have stressed before. And so I would love to have prayer for that as we are tying up all these loose ends before going, that we would just be able to rest in Christ and not try and rest in what we're doing, but rest in what Jesus has already done for us. And so please pray for me for that. And I'm sure Heather will need that prayer as well. Would you agree with that? Okay. I know that I was the victim this time, but it could be anybody next. And so we'll all pray for each other. I'm sure many of you are go through similar things as well. So that is the end of our prayer requests.
We're going to give a kiddo update next time. We have our newsletter because they've been up to a lot too. And there's been just changes are happening and they're growing and learning. And we want to share as well just how our kiddos are doing.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our November-December number 15 update. And so thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in a month or two. Bye.